just for a minute. Close your eyes for a second.
Hi Posh fan, welcome back to my channel, Poshcateyes Unfiltered. I hope you will subscribe to this channel because if you're not, I don't know what you're still waiting for. We're still trying to grow this channel. Now with your support, I would definitely get the numbers that I seek. Thank you for staying tuned. Now let's get into all that happened in episode 2 of The Real Housewives of Potomac. Now, as we know, episode 1 sort of concluded with Ashley's second Bloom or Bloom Ball event. Now, this particular Bloom Ball event concluded with a special performance, and I'm not sure what this performance was about. Ashley is a bit, out there kind of person, and so when she had this lady do a few leg walk, I'm not sure, nude walk, it was, very on brand for Ashley. Now, did we get a resolution between Keiarna and Wendy Shenanigan? Not exactly, because Keiarna doesn't exactly know what she is fighting Wendy about. But according to Keiarna, Wendy is a bit passive-aggressive, or Wendy is a bit dismissive with her feelings. Now, this is what I think. Chin check it, because this became an issue for Keiarna and her best friend of 20 years, Angel. We're going to get into that very quickly. I would say this. Keiarna has a new bestie, or her longtime friendship, come on the show. Angel, of course. And how is she going to resolve having to befriend Wendy on the show? It's going to be a hard ask. And so she's trying to come up with a beef with Wendy in order to foster or boost conversations or have a talking point with her bestie, Angel. But that's my take. I don't know how this is going to progress further with the season, because this is only the start of the season episode 2. So it begs to be seen what becomes of this feud between Keiarna and Wendy. Safe to say we're not gonna get any resolution at this point. But I would say this: Stacey again was on the hot seat. This time there wasn't a clear-cut definition of why she's under attack. Ashley feels accountability has to be heard. She's now the accountability police. Now, Ashley, for all of who is speaking, we all know her backstory. But it is quite clear that Stacey is very performative. I would say this. She is very performative. I do like her though, but she's very performative. Now, I will say in part, Stacey now feels like she's half Nigerian. Guys, us Nigerians, we need to start giving these people, I'm not sure, vetting them to be sure that they're confirmed Nigerian. And she said this because Tia has sort of introduced herself to the ladies by saying she's half Nigerian, or she was born in Nigeria as a royalty, a Yoruba royalty. Okay. She painted a picture. I'm not sure how much of a royalty she is, but she did come from old money back, I guess. Sustainability, you decide. We all know what's been happening on the news lately. Speaking of what's breaking in the news with regards to Wendy's alleged insurance fraud charges. Now, Wendy has broken her silence a few times this particular week. First, it was to announce that she was stepping down from her university teaching role in some university that starts with W in America. Now, I thought she left one of the universities, or she resigned. I didn't know she resigned and picked up another university gig. But it's apparent that she is now obviously going to step away from this particular job, given all that is happening on the news, which is quite fair because it will cause a big distraction for her students as she teaches. And I don't think it's a good look for the institution again. So, yeah. And not too long ago, she has put out a photo thanking supporters, photo shoot. At this critical time, I don't know, but this is very on brand for Wendy. It's like the charade continues. What news? What negative press? I'm just going to do me. Well, they do say innocent until proven guilty. So we're just going to wait for how this whole thing plays out. Now, back to episode 2. I did say Tia introduced herself. There wasn't much chatter, but the particular Blossom season event ended with chaos because Stacey again was trying to defend herself, and Ashley was just being very aggressive, and I'm not sure, I would say antagonistic towards Stacey. Now we moved on to Ashley, who is attending an event with Josh, aka Jake Hallow. Now apparently they have had issues. I mean, they're still getting to know each other. Where they stand at the moment is all on Ashley's foray. I have no idea what's going on there, but it's safe to say Josh is still front and center in Ashley's life. Now, good for her. Not that Josh is the type of guy she dates. She dates them like 30 years older. But is this gonna last? You decide, guys. I have no clue. Moving on from Ashley, Keiarna is hosting an event, and we're going to get to the chatter about that event because it didn't really play out as we could see. There were just the backstories emanating from an incident that occurred at the event. Again, this is involving Wendy and Keiarna. It's exhausting, guys. The whole story just looks very made up. The fight looks very made up, but we're going to give it to them all for storylines, guys. All for storylines and TV time. Now, we did see some lady called Cookie with the very blossomous chest. She was at this event. There wasn't very much chatter with her, but we did again get to see her towards the end of episode 2. Now, she is friend with Karen, and there's no surprise she's been introduced here. We do see her on prior seasons on the background with Karen, but this time she's sort of front and center because, again, she's repping Karen and also reporting to Giselle about what's happening or the state of affairs, which in relation to Karen being in jail, because we all know she's in jail. Now, we're going to get to Cookie and the rest of the girls, but we did see Giselle and Keiarna having a sit down. Now, before that, Tia has gone on to introduce herself to be a licensed real estate developer. I might have gotten her profession wrong, and her husband, a nerd. Now, what was striking was the fact that when Giselle visited her, Giselle didn't know her kids. And I thought they were friends. Well, we all know how they're introduced to the show. They're introduced by one housemate as a friend, not necessarily are they friends, but again, that's how they come into the circle. But again, so this is where Giselle visits for the first time, okay? And she's introduced to her kids and husband, and we've now found out a little bit more about her, should I say, soft life. She's led a soft life according to her, and now she doesn't do most of the house chores. How she leaves that to her husband to do. Why is this relevant here? I really don't know, but I guess I don't know. I feel like she's a little bit standoffish, but we're gonna get to that. That's just my take. But early days, she might present differently as the season progresses, but I don't know. But right now, she is very full of herself. Yes, I would say that. Angel, on the other side, is also talking about planning a truth and tranquility event with her husband. They are deciding on buying a place in Potomac, given the fact that they are moving their life from Colorado now to her home state, Maryland. So it remains to be seen how that progresses, but they seem to be all loved up, happy in their space. Well, it is until Giselle had a sit down with Keiarna where there was the conversation alluding to chin checking. Now, apparently, Keiarna was talking to the girls at her event about Wendy describing the fact that she did her own makeup, or asking her to the effect of, did you do your own makeup? Now, the way Keiarna is presenting this, it seemed like it was a shade. I do not think it was a shade. Now, this is Wendy and Keiarna we're talking about. I do not see it as a shade, but apparently it's rubbed Keiarna off the wrong way. And I guess there were conversations surrounding the fact Wendy did not tell her she was going to be attending an event because, according to Wendy, her kids were sick. And so she was unsure at the time if she was going to be at the event, hence the reason why she didn't let Keiarna know. But Keiarna took that as an offense, and then Angel was now to sort of coming to the defense of Wendy to say, did you ask her if the kids were okay? To which there wasn't a clear answer. Tia chimed in to say, well, the kids were clearly okay because she did attend the event. Yes, but we don't exactly know the backstory. She might have gotten a nanny to look after the kids. Her mom or her sisters might have come to help look after the kids because she wanted to attend this event. We don't know. But is this meant to be a stretch of a story to be causing beef? I don't think so. But Keiarna does, so we're gonna go with Keiarna and give her the benefit of doubt. Now, I think when Keiarna was relaying this message to Giselle, it felt like Keiarna said, I had to chin check my friend. I don't know what chin check means, but according to the Black American slang, it means you're physically fighting your friend or clearing them up in some physical aggressive way. Well, we then got to the Truth and Tranquility event. But I think before that, I have to say this though. Stacey make a big dash to win this place. And I think Stacey, I would say this now, I am not a Stacey fan, but I can see and sense that the ladies are sort of ganged up to antagonize Stacey. Yeah, we all know the fallout from the reunion and how, it was a bad look from Stacey's rush point of view. It was about bad look. She lied. She lied a lot. Is that a reason to literally belittle this woman down? No, they are just sort of coming at her in every direction. And good on her for trying to stick up for herself. Well, she did go over to Wendy to see if she could garner support from Wendy. Now, Wendy is a flip-flopper, sits on the fence. You can't read Wendy, as far as I'm concerned. Poor Stacey, told or expressed her hurt to Wendy. And you could see Wendy very disinterested in how Stacey is feeling with all of the accusations and the lie. And did she get any support from Wendy? Not exactly. Did Wendy make her feel a little bit better about herself? Maybe. But in true Wendy's fashion, she did call her out for some of the lies and the messiness that's, now playing in front of our eyes. Poor Stacey, I thought she thought the Nigerian connection with Wendy would have helped the friendship, but too bad. Stacey, you might need to find support from somewhere else. At this point, it's not looking good. Now we head on to the Truth and Tranquility event, all right? Very quickly, because this is where did the episode end here? Not exactly. It did end with Giselle having a conversation with Cookie. At this particular event, Giselle brought up it was a namaste like Husa kind of event that Angel was organizing for the girls. But it was at this point that Angel wanted clarity on the chin checking situation. There was conversation with regards to Stacey's bad breath. And I felt so bad for this woman. But in true Stacey fashion, she took it quite well. Like she embraced the fact that she felt her breath stunk and had the means that was ready to try and freshen the air, even through a few shades with regards to her breath. I was like, okay, girl, good on you for taking it on. The girls are just calling you out left, right, and center, and you are not, perturbed or, intimidated, or should I say, uncomfortable by all of the attacks. Then he got to the chin checking comments, and very quickly, Stacey or Angela and Keiarna were back and forth as to no, it wasn't said like that. There's no way that happened. Keiarna obviously lied because we did hear her say that to Giselle, but then Giselle, doubled down and said, "I heard you say it. You said it," and I'm pretty sure by now Keiarna would have heard and played it back to see that she actually did say it. And I don't know how Angel is going to be reacting with that particular comment. She's your best friend of 20 years. There was no way there was a chin check given the conversation that we watched, but Keiarna is very full of herself at this point. That kind of fizzled on to where they had their fire exchange or fire whatever session, where they all had to say something, that would promote peace. This is the group we're talking about. And no peace happening here. But it's quite clear as day that there's an animosity between Wendy and Keiarna. They don't seem to like each other at this point. Wendy is not interested in what Keiarna is trying to dish out. Keiarna, on the other hand, is just sort of bitter that she's not getting the attention that she quite clearly has set up for Wendy to follow. Wendy is giving her dust, paying her no attention. Now, this particular episode concludes with Giselle having a sit down with Keiarna and Ashley and Cookie. They wanted to get more information because I think it's Karen's birthday, and well, they did get a few information on some and then some. Apparently, Stacey, which is the topic of conversation, came up again. Word on the street is that Stacey tried to get on with Chris Samuels. Now, Chris Samuels is a very familiar person on this particular franchise because they were on a few seasons back with Monique Samuels. Now, they're no longer together, but I do not understand how this particular conversation came about. It did, of course, Ashley. I don't know if it's true. Ashley felt like she got the intel from someone at her Blossom Bloom Ball event. It's a mess. But safe to say, Karen is doing okay. The potential of early release, which we all know she got. And yeah, there wasn't much there. But again, we needed to get that conversation going in front of the cameras to see what's exactly going on with Karen while she's in jail. Now, I cannot wait to see what happens on episode 3, guys, because at this point, we are literally stretching and dragging a lot of these situations and conversations that should have been done with in episode 1. I will see you shortly for episode 3. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and you are deserving. Bye.